Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back to my video. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about meta-reflexivity and teacher professionalism. This topic is actually very important, especially in modern education, because being a teacher today is not as simple as just teaching lesson in front of the class. Teachers now have to face many different challenges such as student behavior, emotional problems, technology, and different learning styles. Because of this, teachers need to think carefully before making decisions in the classroom. In this presentation, I will explain what meta-reflexivity means, why it is important, and how it helps teachers become more professional and prepared for future educational challenges. Alright, let's start with the first slide. Okay, so first, let's talk about why education today is becoming more complex than before. In the past, teachers were mainly responsible for delivering lessons and giving assignments, but today, teachers have much bigger responsibilities. They need to understand students emotionally, socially, and academically at the same time. For example, even when a teacher already prepared a very good lesson plan, the classroom situation can still become unpredictable. Some students may participate actively, while others may stay silent or struggle to understand the lesson. This is why teachers need something called meta-reflexivity. Meta-reflexivity helps teachers think critically and understand situations from different perspectives instead of making quick conclusions. So basically, it helps teachers become more thoughtful and professional when dealing with classroom situations. Now, moving to the next slide, let's discuss why teaching cannot actually be considered a simple job. Many people think teaching is only about explaining lessons clearly, but in reality, every classroom contains students with different personalities, experiences, emotions, and learning needs. For example, when a student suddenly becomes quiet in a class, some teachers might immediately think that the student is lazy or not interested in learning, but the real reason could be very different. Maybe the student is shy, anxious, stressed, or facing personal problems at home. This situation teaches us that teachers should not judge students too quickly. Learning is influenced by many factors such as family background, culture, emotions, and social environment. That's why teachers need to understand students more deeply and carefully. Alright, now let's understand what meta-reflexivity is actually means. Meta-reflexivity is the ability to look at a situation from many different perspectives before making a decision. A meta-reflexive teacher doesn't immediately assume that one explanation is always correct. For example, imagine a student who often submits assignments late. Some teachers might directly think that the student is irresponsible, but a meta-reflexive teacher will think more deeply. Maybe the student is struggling emotionally, maybe the assignment is too difficult, or maybe there are family problems affecting the student performance. So instead of reacting quickly, the teacher tries to understand the full situation first. This kind of thinking helps teachers avoid unfair judgment and make wiser decisions in the classroom. Next, let's talk about reflection and deeper thinking. In education, teachers often use reflection to improve their teaching. Reflection simply means thinking again about what happened during the lesson. For example, after teaching, a teacher might think, maybe my explanation was too fast today. This is already good because it helps teachers evaluate their teaching practice. However, deeper thinking goes beyond simple reflection. Teachers also need to ask themselves questions like, why do I believe this method is effective? Are there better approaches? Or have I fully understood my students' needs? Questions like this help teachers become more critical and open-minded. And honestly, this is very important because classroom situations are usually much more complicated than they seem. Now let's move to another important point. One reality about teaching is that teachers cannot control everything inside the classroom. Even experienced teachers sometimes face unpredictable situations. For example, a teacher may prepare interesting activities and a very organized lesson plan, but students may still lose focus or misunderstand the lesson. This doesn't always mean the teacher failed. Human behavior is naturally unpredictable and students bring their emotions, experience, and personal struggle into the classroom every day. For instance, if a student suddenly becomes angry during class discussion, the teacher might first think the student is being disrespectful. But after understanding the situation more carefully, the teacher may realize that the student is actually dealing with stress or personal problems. So, teachers need to stay calm, think carefully, and avoid reacting too quickly. Okay, now let's discuss the relationship between theory and practice. Student teachers usually learn many teaching theories in university, and these theories are very important because they provide guidance. However, real classrooms are often much more complicated than theories in books. For example, one teaching theory might explain that group discussions improve participations. In some classrooms, this works very well, but in other classroom, group discussions may become noisy and difficult to manage. Why does this happen? Because every classroom is different. Students have different personalities, background, and learning styles. So good teachers don't blindly follow theory. Instead, they combine theory with real classroom experience and adjust their teaching approach depending on the situation. Alright, moving on the next slide, let's talk about teacher professionalism. Many people think professionalism is only about having certificates or qualifications, but actually, professionalism is also about how teachers think and make decisions. A professional teacher is someone who acts responsibly, thinks critically, communicates respectfully, and treats students fairly. Professional teachers also continue learning and improving themselves because education is always changing. Most importantly, professional teachers understand that every student is different, so they try to make thoughtful decisions instead of reacting emotionally. Next, let's look at the importance of understanding problems from different perspectives. One classroom problem can have many possible explanations. For example, if students are not active during discussions, the reason may not be simple. Maybe the lesson is too difficult, maybe students feel nervous, or maybe the teaching method doesn't match their learning style. This is why teachers should not depend on only one perspective. Teachers can better understand students by combining perspectives from psychology, sociology, pedagogy, and culture. When teachers think this way, they become more fair, understanding, and flexible in handling classroom situations. Now let's continue to diversity in the classroom. Modern classrooms are filled with students from different cultures, religions, languages, and family backgrounds. Because of this diversity, teachers cannot assume that all students behave and learn in the same way. For example, in some cultures, students are encouraged to speak actively in class, while in other cultures, students show respect by listening quietly. If teachers don't understand these differences, they may misunderstand students and judge them unfairly. So, meta-reflexive teachers try to understand student background before making conclusion. This helps create classroom where students feel respect and included. Alright, now let's talk about the relationship between teachers and democracy. Schools are not only places for academic learning, schools also help students learn how to live respectfully in society. Teachers have an important role in teaching values such as respect, critical thinking, and open discussion. Today, society faces many conflicts related to religion, race, gender, and politics. Because of this, students need opportunities to discuss differences respectfully and understand different perspectives. Meta-reflexive teachers encourage students to listen to other opinions and think critically instead of forcing students to accept only one viewpoint. Next, let's discuss how future teachers can develop meta-reflexive thinking. Teacher education programs should not only teach teaching strategies but also help future teachers learn how to analyze situations carefully. Student teachers should discuss classroom problems, reflect on teaching experiences, and compare different perspectives. For example, during teaching practice, student teachers can observe how teachers respond to problems and how classroom decisions affect students. After that, they can reflect on what happened and think about what other approaches could be used. This process helps future teachers become more thoughtful, reflective, and flexible. Now, although meta-reflexivity is very important, developing this ability is not always easy. Many beginner teachers prefer simple answers because uncertain can feel uncomfortable. Sometimes they want fixed teaching methods or direct solutions. However, real classrooms are rarely predictable. Meta-reflexivity also requires teachers to examine their own assumptions and biases. Sometimes, teachers might unconsciously judge students too quickly or misunderstand cultural differences. Even though this process can be challenging, it helps teachers become more fair, understanding, and professional. Alright, now we are almost at the end of the presentation. Education continues to change very quickly because society and technology are also changing rapidly. Future teachers will face many new situations that may not have simple answers. Because of this, teachers need more than technical teaching skills. They need to be flexible, open-minded, and able to think critically when facing difficult situations. Teachers who develop meta-reflexive thinking are usually more prepared to face future education challenges because they can adapt to change and respond thoughtfully to classroom problems. So finally, to conclude this presentation, teaching is a profession that requires teachers to make careful decisions in many different situations. Since every classroom is unique, teachers need to think critically, understand different perspectives, and respond wisely. Meta-reflexivity helps teachers become more reflective, open-minded, and prepared to face the challenges of modern education. Alright everyone, that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this explanation helped you understand the importance of meta-reflexivity and teacher professionalism in education today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.